Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast, and let me do a quick check here, make sure everything is looking good. Yes, everything is looking good. Here on Achillean Waste, we have Azubu's San spawning as the what I will call this. Azubu San spawning as the red Protoss on the top left-hand side of the map. Meanwhile, we have Ian spawning as the blue Zerg, yes, with the disappearing hatcheries and everything of the like. This is taken from today, Taiwan Esports League. This is game 1 in the best, or in a 2-game set, excuse me. It is not a best of, it is a 2-game set. And generally, the more games you win, the more points you have in seeding in the final competition. Alright, so far on the bottom right-hand side, you can see just pretty much drones mining away as we are going into a Forge fast expansion coming in from San. Nothing too surprising here. I was either expecting a Forge fast expansion or a Mothership core expansion. Both have become very, very popular, and both have their own advantages and disadvantages. One of the advantages, however, is the fact that the Protoss player can in fact warp in pylons behind the mineral line here and then place down photon cannons. One of those strategies that do disrupt Zerg players pretty readily early on as the game is now getting underway. Coming back around, we'll see what the strategies will be here in this PvZ, as we have yet to see anything come out from San. San may be going for what I believe to be a Nexus first, depending on what he sees from his opponent. The spawning pool is already down, and a drone now has already made its way over, but does not have enough time to actually grow up and be a hatchery. This is tremendously advantage, or this is a tremendous advantage, excuse me, for San, as San now places down a pylon and is now going to make his way over to the third. Ian is just completely lost right now, or Lon is, excuse me, I can't tell if that's an I or an L. Yeah, Lon right now is just completely lost at what to do. He is going to build a hatchery here at the third base instead, and it is now going to come down to what exactly San wants to do here. You can see that the pylon is right off over there. The pylon is going to be there for quite some time as Zerglings now making their way in, or making their way out onto the field. Will clean up that probe and will also clean up that pesky pylon. Queen also being trained as we are going into a front door. Gateway now being added. There is that photon cannon, and this probe is sitting here just to make sure that Zerglings can't get in. If he sees Zerglings perhaps run by, he may try and place down a gateway in order to block it, but he's got quite some time, especially as Zerglings and drones are still dealing with the pylon back at home. Economically speaking, both players should have a very strong economy once we get into the early mid-game. So far, we've seen a lot of Chrono Boost being used on the Nexus itself, getting in a lot more probes. Meanwhile, Ian, even though he was behind here at the hatcheries, not able to place down his hatchery as early as he would have liked, he is still going to be running up on 3 bases. You can see Queens are there already getting ready to tend to things, as a probe now going to be coming up the ramp over here at what I'll call the 3 o'clock position once more and do a bit more scouting. Probe now wandering back around as the Zerglings are going to be chasing that probe here. What is happening next? Cybernetics core is already in play, and we should be getting that warp gate tech here in just a moment. And both sides just playing a very, very conservative game. A lot of drones, a lot of workers, and nothing to really attack each other just quite yet. Level 1 weapons upgrade is underway, so it looks like San is going to try to be aggressive here. We don't see Chrono Boost on the Forge yet, though, so this may not be the 2-base attack that I'm expecting. So far, only 2 assimilators back inside the main base, nothing yet at the natural, as we'll see whether or not Immortals will be trained coming off of this robotics facility. There is that 3rd assimilator. The 4th assimilator may be placed down in just a moment as well. No Twilight Council, however, so we will be stuck at level 1 weapons upgrades. So far, double extractors here at that 3rd base as well, and we are going to be sitting on 3 bases. 33 drones versus 34 probes. as the game is now underway, waiting for that assimilator to reappear. Yes, how come that assimilator is not there? There we go. And now in comes the gateways. Gateways being placed down in tremendous fashion. It looks as though this is going to be a 2-base timing with sentries and perhaps immortals. No, adding in a warp prism first. Now the warp prism does move extremely fast now after the latest buff, or I believe that's a buff that Blizzard is currently testing. I don't know if it's been released just quite yet. But a lot of players have been saying that Protoss is a little bit on the weak side. I don't think that will be the case, or what we'll see in this particular matchup, depending on the skill level. So far, Warp Prism is going to go ahead and pick up some Zealot and some Sentries. What are they going to do now? That is the question. Another round of Warping should be coming in as those gateways are going to be ready to go. Alright, Warp Gate Tech needs about another 2 seconds or so. And this Warp Prism will most likely just unload everything, warp in 2 more units, and then fly along its merry way, trying to get 4 units into his opponent's space as quickly as possible. Overlords are in position. You can see that there is a sentry trying to shoot down this Overlord as we are going into Immortals, in fact. There is another round of Zealots as the Zealots are now making their way in with that sentry. Is it going to be enough? This is a very dangerous move here by San, as San may get flanked rather quickly. Here you go. Zergling's now trying to get in an engagement. There you have it. Zealots now engaging. The Queen is nearby. The sentry getting picked up, and now more units are warping in as well. All the Zerglings have been cleaned up. Very strong micro indeed, as the Zealots never got focused down. So far, this small just a scouting exposition of Zealots and Sentries dealing a lot more damage than I would have expected, but the Roaches now on the field and fighting on creep can kite those Zealots pretty much all game long. Production tab shows more gateways coming in, so it feels like San wants to close the game relatively quickly. He should be able to warp in a few more Zealots and then come in and take out his opponent. You can see that the Warp Prism is already flying in here. What are we going to be seeing next? There is the Queen. No, it looks as though the Warp Prism will be backing off, as both sides simply just getting more scouting information. In the base of San, you can see 3 more gateways already being warped in here, as we're already seeing the destructible rocks getting taken down over here on the low ground to expand to that low ground third base. That low ground third base, very easy to get to, especially with the help of Immortals. Meanwhile, the Overseer just trying to do a flyby, not going to be successful at all. Sentries, however, need to deal with this one changeling, as the Overseer is still sitting off over here. Let's take a look. It looks as though the Warp Prism is going to be coming back in for a bit of a drop. There are Roaches there, however. 108 versus 124 supply. Ian is very much ahead so far, as the Zerg player with that macro advantage really able to come out on top. So far, the Warp Prism is being forced to back off. Warp Prism is being forced to back off here, as the Zerglings are still getting underneath and gonna force that Warp Prism to just do a little bit of dancing maneuvers. This is a very smart play by San, at least forcing Ian to not engage with what should be a superior army. 151 versus 120, and this small batch of Zealots is doing exactly what it needs to do, just trying to keep his opponent inside his base. Back over here, a Mothership Core now taken down by a Queen, and outside the base over here at the third, I wasn't sure what exactly was going on, as the Zealots may try and engage. Level 1 weapons upgrades has been completed for quite some time now. That's the reason why the Zealots did take down the Zerglings early on, and the Zerglings still sitting at 0-0 upgrades, soon to be 1-0-1, and the Roach is going to be at 1-1. Zealots and Sentries now looking to move in here. There's the engagement, and there's the attacks once more. Where are we going to be seeing here, as the Immortals are going to be trying to engage here? There is the Sentries now trying to make or the Zerglings making their way around. Sentries, however, able to place down those force fields, as the Roaches are unable to engage. This is a beautiful battle for San here. So many force fields, and that is why you cannot allow a Protoss player to get up to 15 maximum energy Sentries. You can see just the divide and conquer method. Ian unable to take down multiple units at all. Immortals now gonna get focused down, but this is not good. 137 versus 142. taking a look at the max supply instead. And we have now finally seen a little bit of an evening up in terms of the overall supply. This death ball with 1-1 upgrades looks to finish it off. Roaches trying to push their way in. However, constantly being forced to walk around force fields means that they are not dealing any damage whatsoever. And that GG should be coming in just a moment. So far, all we're seeing is the Immortals, Sentries, Stalkers just pushing in very strong. And there is the GG. Azubu-san taking game 1 in the series in a very impressive fashion. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Please stay tuned for game 2.